So Karen, it's so great to have you on the podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I'm so excited. Oh my
Me
gosh. I
too.
feel like we could talk for days on this.
Yeah, I know. I had to press record.
Yeah.
I was like, we gotta press record. We're missing all the good stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, days. Thank you. I'm excited.
So we had said just before we pressed record that I was going to start with one very important question. And I love what you wrote. So let's start there. So tell me, what does redefining motherhood mean to you?
So my response to that is I reject that phrase. I reject that idea of motherhood.
Right.
And I think when I think back about my life, I've been a rejecter of lots of things. I've been a rejecter of things that need to tell me I need to be and act a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I first became a mom, I wasn't thinking about motherhood then the way I think about it now. And part of my journey, my healing, and right, what all of this means, we have so many pressures on us as humans. And I think as women in particular, the languaging around women in business, for example, particularly moms in business, the language of very masculine energy language.
I love that you're going there.
Around being, hustle and boss babe and all
the
of
grind,
right, all of that. And that becomes almost, it really is very similar to the idea of what a supermom used to be. Nicole, you're like way too young to remember the ads about TV. I don't even watch TV anymore. It's Netflix, but it's that the woman can do all things. She can like earn the money during the day, make the bacon, then cook the bacon, whatever the heck that was. And that's set up, and with the baby on the hip when she's making dinner at night. And those were such
you just described my first 9 months of like being a mom, because I was like, why am I comparing myself to this woman who's got the kid on the hip and making the bacon and cooking it? Like, why did I buy into that program?
Because those programs were probably instilled at really young ages, for sure, right, unconsciously. And we don't even notice this shit anymore. It just happens. And I think for me, I always felt that my girls, and I have 2 kids and they're adults now, but I felt for many years that they got the short end of the stick because I was not that mom. I was not June Cleaver. I was not that mom. I don't feel particularly creative or engaging that way. And I'm not particularly playful, all of those things. So the idea about what motherhood was supposed to mean, it's like, oh my God. Like I was stuck on, please don't use the word hate and don't use the word stupid, right? Don't use those words as opposed to, because I was still figuring myself out. Yes. So I think that's the thing with motherhood. Focusing on what that means for me takes away from the energy that I just need to be figuring out myself.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I wonder what we could call it. I think, so you had mentioned that you've called it, okay, I'm just going to read it because it's just so brilliant. So you said, I reject the phrase motherhood because it comes with a whole set of expectations, assumptions that are unrealistic and unattainable. You know, what you just said.
Yeah.
Delving into the framework of motherhood can keep us from the framework of self. As a woman, I am not motherhood. I am me, and I have a personhood. Being a mom is just one aspect of my personhood. And it's like, yes to all of that. Like, you know what? In the hospitals, as soon as we give birth, there should be like this pamphlet that says, hi, your name is this, and welcome to the next chapter in your life where you are going to facilitate this and this and this. Yes. And you are still you becoming this new chapter, this new evolution.
Absolutely. And so often we're not, our identity as a person is diminished in really subtle ways when we give birth. One of my biggest pet peeves is that 6-week post-delivery mark. Yeah. That when that your mark of returning to
Back to
self
yourself.
is that you can have sex now.
Yeah, right.
Like, can I swear? Like, fuck
Oh,
that.
fuck, please.
Okay. Right. How did that become the measure of where I was at in my recovery journey from experiencing this truly mental, emotional, and physical and spiritual
Yep.
trauma,
Yep.
this traumatic thing when we're taught that our measure of returning to health is whether or not we can have sex again with our partner at 6 weeks.
Oh,
You're
my
fucking
gosh.
kidding me. Really?
Right.
That's it?
And then the pressure that comes with not doing it, the pressure that comes with doing it and having no, and hormones play a huge role in that too, right? The swing of wanting it, not being able to do it, right?
Yeah.
And that is such an interesting piece. It's like, I feel like I've thought of that, but I don't think we've ever talked about that on the show. So that is beautiful.
That just has always really pissed me off. It's like, how did that become the measure that somebody has placed on me about my health?
Wow.
Like, just carrying this human being for 9 months and all of this stuff that comes with that, and the sleep deprivation, the emotion, like there's so many in a world of resilience, speaking that language, like we're in such a state of depletion, right? Why at energy, like in the 4 bodies of resilience, we're in such a state of depletion, which is, and very few opportunities to get into state of regeneration.
Okay, wait, hold on. You got to talk to us about this resilience, because I want you to build that framework out. It sounds beautiful.
Okay.
So what do you tell us?
Okay. So I would love to, because this is part of my, like, where I'm heading now when I think about my practice more, working with people individually. So last year I created a program called Whole Body Acceptance. It was for women. It was an online program, 5 weeks. And it's still a part of an evolution. My framework from that is, my idea was that that we are so much more than our physicality, which links back to, oh, you can have sex now. And that with this focus and a hyper focus, and often in unconscious ways, on the physicality and the physicalness of who we are.
Right.
We focus there. And I thought, oh, we have 4 main bodies. For me, that's my model of the world. We have our physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental.
Yes.
When we're so focused on physical, then our other 3 bodies are not nourished. They're like wastelands. So we're not whole. So from a resilience perspective, and now I'm speaking about the heart math stuff, I did the Building Resilience Mentor course last year without knowing the resilience model. Open up the book to the resilience model, and there's the 4 bodies. I was like, holy shit, I guess I needed to be here, right? And so they talk about depletion and regeneration. Wow. So when we're in a depleted state, and we can be depleted in 1, 2, 3, or 4 of our bodies, our body's in a state of stress, and we're not getting, and from stress without an intentional action to get us into a regenerative state. Here we're not going to be, we can't engage really in healthy ways and healthy anything really.
Wow.
Because you can't build from a state of depletion.
No, you can't. There's no way.
It's like, it's like the garden, the analogy of the garden. If the soil is depleted, nothing is growing.
Okay, but how many mothers, right, are actually mothering from depletion and like, we're not even talking social media. We're not talking generational beliefs. Right. We're literally just talking in one body right now, which is the physical body. Like, let's just focus that. That is depletion right there.
Yeah, totally.
And how many mothers have continued to mother from the state of depletion for the majority of their motherhood experience?
I'm thinking countless.
Right?
Like, we couldn't put a number on it.
Right.
We couldn't put a number on it. And I think that there's still a sense of this must do, this sense of
duty. I hear the word duty. Yeah.
Totally. And the other word I reject completely as it relates to motherhood in particular, or as parenthood, is the word sacrifice, that you must sacrifice. Oh, yes. My God.
No, I can't.
No, actually not at all.
No.
there's some non-negotiables.
Yes.
But we do it we say they're non-negotiable, yet we can't imagine when our child is going down for a nap that we can't also take that time to nap. The idea that, oh, my child's for napping, this is when I get work done now. This is when I'm going to get the dishes done or prepare dinner or whatever. So we continually deplete ourselves from this sense of, well, I must, going back to really, I believe, such an unconscious belief and paradigm around what being a super mom is. Whoever created that phrase, like I don't know where their genesis of that is, a super mom.
I wonder though, like I have to think there was a lot of positive intention behind it. Like that's what I do believe. I believe that super mom has a positive intention to it because it was, and it's just me making this all up, just totally making this shit up as we go here, right? But like if I were to make it up, I would say that it has to come from this place that it's like, oh wow, like for so many centuries women have been, wow, you're not powerful, you're not, you can't do this, you can't vote, you can't do this. And all of a sudden people are like, wow, women actually are doing so much more and getting no recognition. And it was almost like that time between going from stay-at-home mom to like now women are entering the workforce in ways we've probably never seen before. I'm talking back in the day. It was probably the intention of, wow, I can do it all and I can do it probably better than this and this and this. So I feel like that's what it's come from. But the evolution of that has now potentially created a way of parenting or a way of momming or primary caregiving, if we want to, be really specific, that you have to do it all and look good doing it.
Yes.
Which is, we know that when we talk about resilience, we talk about trauma. Well, you just can't. And I think that's what that learning or paradigm or thought has led us into this place now, knowing that, and this is my belief, we've really as women have to stop trying to do it like a man and do it the way we were naturally designed to, in that feminine power of I can raise a human and I can raise a business, I can attend my career, I can do all the things that I want to do, and I get to do it with ease because that's what my body was designed to do.
Right. And this idea of supermom, I think, to take that where it's evolved, of I can do it all. And you get special gold stars.
Right.
If you can do it all without asking for help.
Oh my gosh. Right. That's
so
gotta be it.
Or never let them see you sweat. I still think that we have this, because beliefs are at a cellular level, right? And they get passed down. So when you think about it, you have a direct biological relationship with your grandmother.
Okay, hold on. Just say that again. That's so cool.
You have a direct biological relationship with your grandmother. As do I.
Yeah. And that is what this, okay. Yeah. So you and I are playing in the same world. So I don't get to talk about it this way as much anymore, but we play in the same world of quantum and NLP and cellular memory. And this is why I love, why I love our conversation. I love you. Yeah. Cause we are carrying it at a cellular level. It's not just conscious, right?
Right. Cause your grandmother actually carried you.
Right.
And most folks, when they hear that for the first time, when I share that, it's like, what?
Right.
Like there's because we were never told that. We were never told that around basic biology. And so what does it mean when a girl is born or a child is born with all of the eggs? That person will never produce any more eggs. Right. That's it. So then what does that mean then? Well, it means your grandmother carried you. What was going on for her?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like all of those kinds of things that are we can't disregard that.
Right.
Right. We have to. So thinking about the first 7 years, they say children are in theta state, right? So they're in trance. They're just absorbing.
Imprint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's also got to happen when they're wee little eggs sitting in like a little human's ovary, right?
Yeah,
That there's
totally.
also those
Yeah.
energetic things they're just absorbing then and picking up. I remember, probably a year and a half ago, listening to a video, cells vibrating, and it might have been through, I don't know if it's Bruce Lipton did it or Greg Braden with Heart Math.
Okay.
Listening, because everything is energy.
Yes, everything is energy.
And everything vibrates as a result of that. So listening to cells vibrate and the different sound based on the environment. A stressed environment versus like a well environment. So if grandmother's environment, we're thinking about generations past and what they've gone through, particularly depression, about being a parent, being a motherhood, you provide and nothing goes to waste, and how that might even show up in this idea of mothering again, their children, and then their children mothering their children.
Oh my goodness.
So all of those beliefs, we have very complex, I think, global events have created this idea of motherhood, most of which we are completely unaware
of. Yes. Okay. So I'm just gonna, okay, hold on.
Okay.
So it's so interesting that you said this. So I am on the page for Canadian Perinatal Mental Health Collaborative. I'm a social media ambassador for this organization, and they just posted 16 hours ago about baby heartbeat reveals the stress of having a depressed or anxious mother. And they quoted it, and it said, and I'll put this in the show notes for anyone that's listening and they want to check it out. This work means that it is important to diagnose and treat depressive and anxiety disorders in new moms because it has an immediate impact on the stress system of the baby. Prior studies showed not only short-term, but also long-term. Again, really focusing on why maternal mental health is so important. If we support mom, we're not only supporting new baby, but any baby to come. We're supporting
absolutely
dads. We're supporting families, I'll say, and in such a different way. Now, I will say to anyone listening who is like, who is Bruce Lipton? What are you talking about? Okay. How do cells vibrate? Like, to anyone who is like completely new to this world, welcome. And
yes, welcome. It's so fun.
It's so fun. And I always want to put this in here as well. Like, if you are hearing this for the first time and are hitting this, I think there's like this combination of like pure awareness is very freeing. Awareness is like that first step in going, okay, I have power. I can change this and I can do this. Like, I'm going to do it differently. And also I say to every single one of my clients that awareness is a bitch. Like, it hurts.
Oh, yes.
Right. And awareness does suck, but without that awareness, we can't make change. And that's where we have these conversations around awareness is so powerful to think like, oh, so if that did go on in my grandmother's life, is it potentially showing up in my life? Because I always say, what happened to us is not our fault. Never. Right. What happened to us is not our fault, but what we are responsible for is our healing, our resolution, and the repair of that.
Right. Yeah. We are 100% not responsible for the programming we received in those first 7 years as children, but we're 100% accountable as adults to then take a dive. Which beliefs are working for you? Which ones inspire and still work for you? And which ones you think, like, oh my God, this is terrible.
This has got to go, and I need someone that's going to help me get it gone.
Right. Yeah. Right. Like the idea you and I talked about, I think in our chat thread, but part of this, I can do it all. Like the differentiate, if you have like a heteronormative relationship, what mom's role and dad's role is, kind of not asking for help and not showing up. So as I said, are showing up for their kids and actually allowing that, enabling that. So I have 2 girls, like I said, 2 different relationships.
Right.
First relationship with my oldest, very kind of much more typical or stereotypical involvement, I would say, between dad and my daughter.
Right.
And I had the brunt of it. Second time, a few years later, I was like, I'm not fucking doing this again, like at all. So even so much that when he came into the picture, like I said to him, you need to develop your own relationship with Vanessa outside of me. You need to go do stuff on your own.
Oh my God, I said the same thing.
Right? Like all of that, do it
Yep.
on your own,
Yep.
outside of me. And then when we had, our daughter, it was very much, this is the way you still have to develop that relationship outside of me. So do things. So he is a very involved dad. So consequently, which was after, like when she got older, if she like tripped or got hurt or needed comfort, it was like a coin toss who she was going to.
Wow.
Her dad or me. So
right.
as a traditionally trained mother, that was like, oh, right? That felt a little bit, it hurt my heart. It's like, oh, like, am I not meeting her needs as much or whatever?
Right.
But really it was the outcome of her dad really kind of stepping into that nurturing role to hang out with her, to walk with her. He would take her for walks every day after work and just play and do all of that. And the payoff was huge, right? The payoff was huge on that. So yeah.
But for me, that just feels like equity. Like it feels like, so I came into our relationship, we were very much like equality all the way. Like, not in the sense of like sacrificing, but in the sense of like, we both are going to contribute mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, financially, like this, like it all evolved almost without having to talk about it, because it was definitely a value for us. And then parenthood happened. And there was this, I like to say, the first 9 months of me being a mom were I was growing. And then I did a QCP session with my coach. And that was the life-changing moment for me, which now I'm creating a program around that. And I'm literally looking at the word right now.
That's awesome.
It frees me. And it's really close to what you had said at the beginning when you said you reject the word motherhood. And because when you reject it, it allows you to become who you are. And so for me, my word is becoming. It's like every day I get to allow myself to become. And that is freeing.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. Yes.
So freeing.
Yes. And I think when you said letting go of motherhood, the picture that came to mind, when we hold on to something, there's no room to receive anything else.
Nope.
So if we can just let go of the idea of all of these things, we can grieve that loss, because any loss, honor it and, express grief, but then we're open to it.
Yeah.
I remember when my second one, so I was almost 39 when I had her.
Okay.
So I was 9 years older than my first one. So I was, physically different. Everything was different.
Right.
And I remember one day, I don't know how old she was. Chris might remember whether she was a couple weeks old, because my mom was here when she was first born. So whether she was a month old or 6 weeks old, and he came home from work one day and I was sitting we living in a townhouse. I was sitting on the stairs and I just said, and I was done. I just said, you have to stay home now, because I could not do it anymore. Never once did I have a conversation with my doctor about any postpartum issues.
I was just going to say.
I was never asked.
I know.
And I actually didn't recognize it. It was probably only in the last few years, like listening to you, listening to Dr. Watson.
Oh, I love
just
her.
like kind of that awareness when I look back, and it's like, fuck, I think I probably, right. I had this thing and I really was not, I couldn't function. So Chris, he's like, absolutely. He took some time off work so he could, stay home full time. And cause I was exhausted and I had so much on the go.
Yeah.
I also thought because I could do it all, I was an executive director of an organization. I was doing all of this stuff, high achiever, all of that. I was still doing work pieces too.
Wow.
Because I could do it all.
Of course.
Clearly not.
Right.
Clearly not. But I think when, as a mom, and when we're not able to do that, going back to that post, babies need that eye to eye connection for growth, right? To get their systems going, their whole attachment, what's secure, all of that. And when we're not in that space,
Right.
we can't give that.
Nope.
Because a baby's going to know whether or not they're looking into empty eyes versus full eyes, like full of love eyes. Because we're in that place, right? I think when there's a postpartum depression or what depressive symptoms, whatever, there's an emptiness.
Yeah.
Because you're exhausted, completely depleted.
Yes. And it's like, imagine it's like, I'm all for labels. I'm all for the label because I feel like it brings us to the map and it puts us on and we go, okay, this is what it is. I can put my hands on something. This isn't me. There's something going on with me. Yeah. And I respect them. And I also think that they can lead us into something deeper and can really guide us back into what our power is. And, you know, the more I have these conversations with moms is postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety is this intensity of, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know who I'm supposed to be, connected with hormonal changes, I'm not disregarding the actual physical changes that happen in our body, right? And we've talked about that, the depletion and the lack of awareness, you know, even for our partners or for our families, it's like there's something going on inside of our bodies and we can't make sense of it. And if I were to say something, then I can't do it all, then I've failed. And then, you know, we just insert all of our beliefs that we have attached to it. And then it continues and it recycles. And that's not okay anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's not okay for us. And I love social media in the way because it is connecting so many moms to this place of we're not alone in this thinking. We're not alone in that I physically can't get up anymore.
Yes.
And I physically am exhausted. And I remember going, I don't really know who I'm supposed to be. And I remember thinking, if I didn't have my close friends and my coach, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where that would have led. And it was, you know what, this is like literally the fourth time I've said this conversation, not the conversation, but sleep deprivation is a form of torture.
Yes, absolutely it is.
We know this, and we know newborns are going to cause this in families. So where and how can we create the structure, you know, and I don't know what it is. I don't have the answers, the prevention, the conversations, you know, stop buying all the things. And maybe we could spend more time focusing on, hey, when you get to that point of sleep deprivation, this is the number you're going to call. Someone's going to Zoom over to your house and they are going to be the baby whisperer, you know?
Right. Yes.
I mean, that's what I would have hoped for because we were both tired, Brandon and I.
Yes. But I think there is a community, a culture. Who the heck is it that for the first 40 days, like mom is like in her bed.
Yes.
And right.
I know we have so much to learn.
It takes a village to raise a child actually needs to happen in our society, our model of the world, Western
world,
happen right at birth so that there is a community that's coming in. So mom is resting and regenerating because when mom is sleep deprived, that absolutely her spiritual, emotional, and mental bodies are also leaking. She's like a leaking human being at that time, everything, because there's nowhere to plug safely to regenerate. Because it's not just about plugging the leaks, it's actually regenerating.
Yeah. And talking about what that looks like, because for me and you, it could be two different things, right? So it's like, what about the regenerating model or the postpartum regeneration? And I will say that there are many communities right now that are really focused on that. Dr. Danielle, we had her on season 1 and we talked a lot about this. And there are so many communities of moms creating that sense of connection and regeneration. And I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
And I just, I wonder, well, this podcast is meant to serve as breaking down those old beliefs and having conversations about what isn't working for us, this being one of them.
Yeah.
And I want to bounce back to the relationship with your partner, because I was saying we were very equal and parenthood happened and I was trying to keep it equal. That was exhausting me.
Yes.
Because me too, I wanted him to have a relationship outside of me doing it.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to have a relationship with my daughter. What that meant, I would be playing and being present on the floor. I had this image in my head of me cooking dinner, him coming home from work, serving him the food, serving her the food, and they got to play while I cook dinner. And I was rejecting it like crazy, right? Because I was like, I want to be the fun parent too, right? She gets to know me as the fun parent, right?
Yeah.
But then there were so many things colliding. And now I actually really do look forward to like cooking dinner and them playing, because it is like just something I want to do, but also because I changed my belief on it. It was like, I want them to have their own thing. Like I want them to have their own thing. It's not coming from a place of I have to do this for you. It's like, you get to do things for me so that I have a relationship with her.
Right.
And I'll do the same for you.
Right.
And it no longer was equality, it was equity. And when someone explained that to me, I was like, okay, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Because equity really embraces and takes into consideration the individual capacity and differences.
Yes.
Right. So that's really, really important. And I think what was coming to mind as you were speaking, when we get to that place of that sharing, it's almost a difference between, is it the energy of love or the energy of fear?
Right. Yes.
So
yes.
Right. So you understand that. And
totally.
So shifting to that energy of love is absolutely liberating and freeing.
Absolutely. And knowing that, like, am I choosing this because I'm rejecting it from fear? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, okay, let's dive into that. But knowing that like consciously I was choosing, like when I'm consciously and intentionally in choosing something, that's me in alignment, that's me in my power. And that's something that I can maintain.
Yeah. Right. Because that's where ease is, right? When we're in alignment, there's ease.
Yes.
And I think, and I think kind of going back to what you're saying with you and Brandon, I didn't grow up like playfully. That's not part of
like your childhood.
My childhood. Absolutely not. Like when I think back, there was play times I don't ever remember playing with, like on the floor with either parent or whatever. That was not. Right. And I think because of my own woundedness, playfulness is not something that I identify with. Now, Chris and I, we've been together for 25 years. He's quite playful.
Right.
He's quite playful. And so it was okay for me. Like part of me felt sad that I couldn't be in that role with our second one. And even Vanessa, she was a little bit older. And also going back to equity, maybe it's not both parents' jobs to be playful.
Totally.
Bring different things, right?
Yes.
So I'm the one that's teaching my girl, like both my girls, like sidebar irony, both pregnancies, I thought I was having boys.
Wow.
I thought that, because I thought, oh, no, I need to train and coach boys and how to be with females. Oh. Because of my own pain, right? I just thought I can do that. And then, oh my God, both deliveries, it's a girl. It's like, what the fuck? Right? This is not the story. I'm not writing this story. Absolutely. Because I had actually created a whole narrative about what my boys were going to be like. Wow. And I thought, girl, what the hell am I going to do with a girl? Because I was so far away from me. Right. And so with my girls, through them and parenting them, it's just been more about my return to self. Ooh. That's what I needed, right? Good. But I was pretty sure I needed to have boys to kind of teach them how to be. But so my conversations with my girls were always about I was the one that was like, you don't have to hug or kiss anybody you
Right.
don't want to, including
Yep.
your grandparents,
Yep.
which, you know, Vanessa's 28. That was a
That
little
was
bit
not what people
unusual
were talking
back then.
about back then.
No. It was like, you want to explore your body. Your body is yours.
That's what, yes. That's the kind of thing I've been having conversations. I'm like, how do I teach her to love herself, that it is all beautiful. She can have anything that she wants. Like, you know, really mindful of my language and how I talk about her body. And, you know, even with us, like if she wants to be tickled, it's like, okay, you let me know when you're ready. And then when she says no, like say no. Right. Like, and so I've been having conversations with fellow moms around teaching consent and, you know, really honoring the body. And we say the same thing to grandparents. You say, can you, do you want to?
Yeah. May I?
If
asking,
not,
because that's where
high
exactly.
five. Yeah.
Exactly. Asking for permission.
Mm-hmm.
And asking for permission. Just years ago, one of my first trainings around anti-oppression ARAO training, this trainer was wonderful. And she said something so powerful that I wished I had heard before I had children, actually. Said, our youth are the most oppressed group globally.
Whoa.
That has stayed with me. It's actually not just youth, it's kids and it's children.
It is. Yeah.
We assume, and actually as parents, we give consent on behalf of our children all of the time. And is it consent that for everything, whether it's, you know, what pictures we post on social media, do we, without, and my youngest, she's always been really clear. You don't take pictures of me. And if you do, you're not posting them. So she helped me to kind of like, I don't give you permission to do that. So as parents, we just kind of do these things and because we think, oh no, it's okay. It's okay. And what are we teaching in the process? So teaching consent is around even how we convey them, how we share stories with them in it. It is, you know, may I give you a kiss? May I give you a hug? It's to, I think Hannah chose her clothes one day last week.
Yeah. Always.
So always, which is so awesome, right? Because one of the best NLP questions is, how is this a problem for you? Oh my God. I love that.
Yeah. Well, she puts her boots on backwards, right? Because that's just naturally how it goes. And someone said, oh, your boots are on wrong. I said, no, they're just on they're just on opposite feet. Like she didn't do anything wrong. She actually let's acknowledge what she's done right. Because as long as she can walk really well in them, I'm okay with it. Yeah. It's okay.
Yes. And I think consent starts there, when we actually back off from our kids and allow them to explore age appropriately what kinds of decisions they can make for themselves. That's when they gain confidence in their personhood.
Yes.
Right. And I think consent overall and permission and boundaries is much easier when we are from a place of strength and wholeness versus, well, my parents always laid out my clothes for me. Like all of those things, like they're important, and they're important later on.
I know. And that's what I look at when it comes to parenting Hannah. I look at, how can I create the container to teach her these big things in, you know, small bite chunks. Right.
Yeah.
And it has been this very much of a consent conversation. However, I've been sitting here reviewing, how am I conveying her online? And I'm, you know, a social work background, very, you know, very guarded before I went into my own practice. And I've definitely, you know, share quite a bit. But I feel very aligned with what I share. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I am doing it consciously. I'm consciously choosing the pictures I'm sharing, you know, but I will say that it's never far from my mind. And I definitely am aware that I could probably re-examine how much I'm sharing, or maybe put things on lockdown. Or I look at Facebook and I go, well, everybody on there, I, you know, equally invited on there. I accepted, right?
Yeah.
But Instagram is public. So then you kind of wonder. Yeah. But then I go, there's this like really big part of me that goes, I'm just believing in the good. And I don't know if that takes away like that has to take away some of how I'm conveying her online. Like that's a fine line to navigate.
Yeah, it is.
Because I go, who am I to make that decision?
Right.
Right.
The fact that you're aware of it though, and bringing that into consciousness means that you're probably making much more, well, you just said you're making much more intentional decisions around what to post.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that whether the parents who are not thinking about even ask, do I have the right to post this without their consent? Well, if I give consent because I'm the parent, is that okay?
Right.
I would say that most people are not having that conversation,
right,
about it.
Yeah.
But I think I think it's consent starts at really young ages without talking about consent.
Yeah.
Without talking about, because boundaries and all like it just happens by our actions.
It does. Yeah.
Right?
Like I would say literally all the questions that we posed to Hannah from a very young age were, can I take your shirt off now?
Yes.
And sometimes it doesn't work out very well because there's a time limit and we got to go. Right.
Right.
And I think about like, so very young, I said to Brandon, when you need to ask Hannah something or you want to talk to her or you want to tell her something, you need to say this. So this is what we practice. Hannah, can I tell you something? And wait for her. And then when she engages, we say it. Or we say, Hannah, can I tell you something? Can I ask you something? And we wait. And the last few mornings, she kind of has been getting up a little bit later. And instead of rushing her to get her dressed, I bring the clothes down to, like, she knows a routine. She gets it. She gets that, like, when mama's hanging out of the door, it's time. And she comes on her own time. So there's just like navigating. There are, kind of rhythms to life or rules to life, right? We have responsibilities and also honoring her rhythm. And so when I'm at the door, I've gotten her clothes down there and it's like, okay, now it's time to change out of your PJs. It's not my ideal situation, but this morning it happened. But it was on her time. It was like, I gave her the choice. You can get dressed now or you can get dressed down at there, but either way, we're going to get dressed. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Either way, we're getting dressed.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's such a great, like going back to consent, it starts with those subtle beliefs when you as parents, we get to the way that we behave with our children lets them know whether or not we hold them able and capable.
Right.
Right. That was another big, really wonderful teacher a number of years ago said, Karen, hold people able. Hold them able. And that has meant the world. So I wish these are some of the messages I had, like after my kids, I wish that I'd had like right from the get-go. Because I probably, I would have maybe made some different decisions around how I interacted, about expectations about doing things at a particular time. But definitely, that's part of my journey too. And that's, I think, going back to kind of rejecting the term motherhood, I think when we become moms, it's not so much I don't see it stepping into motherhood. It's returning to self.
All the feels on that.
Right. Like all of that, that's kind of what it is, and I had a thought before we sat down today, because I have said this to my children. I'm just going to apologize now for all the shit you're going to talk to a therapist with later on.
I say that because I think my best friend is my best friend, and she's known me since we were in grade 10. So it's been like, we looked at it, we're like, oh my God, it's almost been 20 years. So I remember the very early days, months even, of motherhood, and just being completely shaken by how much I know about child behavior, child psychology, limiting beliefs, like the unconscious mind. Like I was getting really tripped up about it. It would be like, it was preventing me from being myself, because I was like, ooh, is that going to be the thing that she's going to take to therapy? Ooh, is that the thing that's imprinting? Like, and here's the thing, Nicole, you're never going to know unless she tells you.
Never.
Like, and she may never know, because she may never ever do what you think you want her to do. So I was like, I had to really let go of that. And I remember being really like shaken out of that and going, I can't be the only person that knows all of this about child psychology and, the unconscious mind and neuroscience. I'm not the first parent. However, there's parents that say to me, oh my gosh, I wish I knew what you knew now as a parent. And then there's also times where I go, I kind of wish I almost didn't know half of this stuff, because I wonder what it would have been like. But I say to her all the time, not her, to be honest, I say in my mind, she will go to therapy and I want her to go to therapy. I just wonder if that was going to be it. Like, is that going to be the thing? Like, is that going to be it?
But how did we decide?
Right?
How did we decide to say to ourselves, and because my girls are older, I will text them. We have a girls group chat, right? Just the three of us. And yes, it is awesome. I love our girls group. And we're a girl gang. And how did I decide? How did you decide to stick with that narrative? Oh shit, I'm sorry. I'm just going to apologize now for all the shit I've done. And you're going to go knee somebody, versus, or in addition to, and man, I'm also really excited about all the stuff that I'm going to kick ass about and all of that. Like, it's such, we approach it like we are apologizing for all this stuff. But then when I think back, it's like, damn, no, like I fucking rocked lots of shit too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But I've apologized, and I hear that jokingly with parents too. And yes, and it's a great joke, but it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Stop saying sorry.
Yeah. And acknowledge though, all of the wonderful things, because that stuff for most families is far outweighs the kind of the other bits. And as you said, you don't know. And it's inevitable anyway, because we all have a path.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So it's, as a parent, I think it's, I think what's so important about returning to self and doing that healing work is like, I'm in a much better place now that I can step back with both of my girls. And sometimes it hurts my heart to say, no, this is their path. Like, this is happen. They have the right to learn their lessons, the privilege of learning their lessons, just as I did. And so it's kind of not interfering or interrupting that process, because they have a journey.
You know, it's the masculine and feminine energy. It's the masculine energy of doing. I'm watching this masterclass right now, and the leader, she said, you know, mothering energy is masculine energy. And you know that emoji where the brain is kind of going mind blown?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, what? Sorry, mothering energy is masculine. Sorry, no, she didn't. But no, it is, because it's constantly giving. And when you said that, what came to me was, it is this ebb and flow of doing the mom stuff, doing the caretaking, doing the loving, all of those doing pieces. And then the feminine is like leaning back and trusting and knowing that you've done all you can do. And they do have free will. They have choice. And it's that trusting. And I think that that's where a lot of the protection comes from, of like protecting, you know, what we don't want to be disappointed in. And so something I come back to quite often is focusing on what I can control, which is myself, how I respond to things, right?
Yes.
But also building those skills of resiliency in her, those emotional, I will say, I focus on emotional intelligence probably every single day. That is what I'm mindful of. And that is like, for me, that's where I can trust.
Right.
Right. Because I go, how did I get here through all my pain, through all my trauma? How did I get here? What is it? And it's the resiliency. It's the bounce back.
Yes.
So it's like, how can I teach that? How can I engage our family in emotional resilience? Right.
Right. So resiliency from heart math perspective is the ability to prepare for and bounce back. It's not just bouncing back, it's preparing for.
Right. Because trauma is what you don't expect and what you're not prepared for.
Right. It's that whatever the situation is that's overwhelming to the system. And so the system is unable to respond appropriately. And so there's probably a trauma capsule around that thing where there's some stuck energy and stuck emotion.
True.
And it's going to look different for all of us.
Right.
Right. Which is why from from an event perspective, somebody who's an offender bender today, one person might not be able to get into a car for a week or 2 weeks or 6 months, and another person can get back in the next day.
Totally.
Right. So
Right.
so resiliency is preparing for and responding to. It is that bounce back, because one thing we know for sure is that we're going to stumble, we're going to fall. Some falls are going to be bigger than others.
Yeah.
So it's not about preventing the fall.
No.
It's like how we're responding to that to kind of get back up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I think, right. So as a parent, I think about the role of a parent. A is not to be your best friend.
No.
Like I hear like kids say, or, moms say, oh, my daughter's my best friend or whatever. I just think that sounds a little bit fucked up to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't quite get that. But it really is, it's a mentor and a coach. And I think our children, because I've been thinking about this, because I will say that my children have been my greatest teachers.
Yes.
However, they've been my greatest illuminators.
Ooh, because it's the return back to self.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because it's not our children's job to teach us.
They're just mirroring back. They're just there to reflect back what we need to heal and resolve.
Yeah. So they've been so my children have been my greatest illuminators.
Hey, that should be your program name. That's just so powerful.
Illuminators. Ooh. And some of those spotlights have been not very pretty. Right? No. Pretty and hard, challenging and uncomfortable, and where I felt guilt and it fed into my shame story and all of those things. And because I like where I am today, I kind of have to honor all that shit too.
Totally. It's the polarity of life. It's accepting that darkness, embracing it, because we wouldn't even know the light we were in if we didn't know that darkness existed, which is the bounce back. It's that resiliency. It's the hope. It's like, it's just accepting and knowing we're human.
Yeah.
That part is so big.
Yeah.
And that's like really my wish and hope for everyone is like, we can walk in both of those areas, and we get permission to do that. And if we don't know how to do it, we get to ask for help. Like,
right.
That's the, the key, I think is the key to that. So okay, Karen, you and I could talk a lot.
I know, a long time. Yeah. So much
I feel like you're going to come back. So, so always end here. I mean, I think you've said it, but if you were to go back and tell your younger self, what would you want her to know after everything you've learned to this day? What would you want your younger self to say? Right?
In this moment,
yes.
What I would tell my younger self is, that it's time to go back and rewrite the manual that you think you have, right? and that lack of awareness. We go into parenthood thinking that we know how it's going to be and what we're going to do based on all the shit that we didn't receive in our own childhood. So from that place of pain, that there is that subconscious programming, which is a manual. Go back and rewrite that. Just start there, and then everything will fall into place. Go back and do your work and start rewriting that.
So you're saying there's a manual there. Everyone does have a manual for parenting,
totally.
But it's from the pain, and we want to shift it from the pain paradigm to the healed paradigm.
Right. And
or the evolution.
Of the manual, yes, there's going to be some positive things there, but mostly I believe we parent from a place of pain. Like unhealed, or like, yes, absolutely. So rewrite the damn manual.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that's liberating and it's freeing. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what I would tell her. And start practicing self-compassion.
Yes, absolutely. And also trusting that as much of the love that I love the work of Bruce Lipton, and also that cells do regenerate. And the more that we do heal ourselves, we are regenerating ourselves, and the work that we do on ourselves has the impact and influence to directly change our children as they are. So I think
and their children and
their children. Yeah. So it's like, it's never too late. It's like, no matter what point or phase or season you're at in your lifetime hearing this, yes, this stuff is going on, but the power is like, I can change it. I can rewrite it, and I can change it at a cellular level, because that's where we play.
Yes,
That's where we play.
absolutely. And
that's what
so
I've
exciting.
seen. I have seen it constantly shift.
Yeah.
Every single time I do my work,
Yeah.
I see it shift in her, and I see it shift in my partner, and I see it shift in my family. And it's like, and I haven't said anything to anyone. They're just like, all of a sudden they're like, what's different? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
I'll tell you.
Yes. Right. That's so juicy. That's so juicy. And I love when that happens too.
Right?
I love that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. If anyone wants to connect, I'll put all your links below. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much. I've loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.